Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about a story that really aggravates me, and it does so for a number of reasons. Now, oftentimes on this channel, we'll talk about stories that occur in blue cities that are a part of larger blue states. We'll talk about the district attorney, or the statewide laws, or the local laws, or the cutting of the funding of the police. But this story takes place in Nashville. Tennessee has a supermajority at the statewide level in terms of the Republican Party, so they should be able to nerf problems at the local level, like we see in Memphis all the time, very blue city, or in this case, like we see in Nashville. But yet, even in super red Tennessee, you still get stories about people who are arrested 105 times being out on the street only to reoffend again. And if you thought all those 105 arrests are going to be ticky-tack unrelated violations, then just stay tuned for the rest of the video because they are related, this was predictable, and they're recent. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
5 Metro Police say an Amazon delivery driver was kidnapped, raped, and robbed while delivering packages early this morning. Now this man, Carl Hamilton, is facing charges.
So yeah, that intro basically covers what went down in this particular case. Amazon delivery driver ends up going to a building, ends up going towards the mailroom to deliver packages. She's 25 years old, just doing her job. Then we have Hamilton right here, our criminal for the day, who decides, allegedly, because he's not convicted of this yet, that he's going to come into the mailroom, close the door behind him, sexually assault her, and then kidnap her, force her to drive around for an hour before ultimately forcing her to go to the ATM in order to get him $100 because, you know, after you rape somebody, you need a little cash for cab fare, I'm assuming. But what aggravates me is not the horrific nature of this particular case, even though that, of course, is really bad. Imagine being this woman where you were just assaulted by this random guy while you're doing your job. He's then making you drive around for an hour. You're contemplating whether or not this person is going to murder you because, you know, no witnesses and all that. And based on his pattern of behavior, if they give him another break on these particular charges like they did in the past, I would not be surprised if the next time he decides to murder the victim, because that's the kind of caliber person we're dealing with. Now, I said in the open that this guy had 105 arrests. Now, when I first saw the story, I quote tweeted it and said sarcastically, well, there was nothing anyone could have done about this, but of course, that's not the case. Now, it wasn't just drinking in public that he was arrested for. It wasn't stealing bread for his starving family, like many people on the left wing would tell you. He was arrested for serious crimes, but more importantly, he was convicted of serious crimes, including something very similar to this, sentenced for a long period of time. But of course, he was released years early on his sentence, given a slap on the wrist, because he's an innocent angel Aladdin who only kidnaps people to feed his starving family.
Police say the 25-year-old female driver was delivering packages when Hamilton walked in, pushed her into the back of the mailroom, closed the door, and then sexually assaulted her. Afterward, he made her drive him to an ATM and used her debit card to steal $100.
Officers were able to arrest Hamilton thanks to surveillance cameras at the apartment complex. Police say he's a career criminal.
So 34-year-old Carl Jerome Hamilton, like I said, had 105 previous arrests. Now, these arrests vary in scale because of course they do. He's a criminal in a bunch of different regards. But what is most important is that this is not the first time Hamilton has been charged with a kidnapping and a robbery. In fact, in 2020, he was taken in after allegedly attacking a 24-year-old woman and subsequently convicted. So let me just get this straight for you guys for this particular story. In 2020, 4 years ago, he was arrested in connection with an attack on a 24-year-old woman who he physically assaulted, kidnapped, and then robbed. 2024, 25-year-old woman sexually assaulted her this time, kidnapped her, and robbed her. So already, this guy has a lengthy criminal history that is related to what he did right here. However, he was not convicted and sentenced until 2022, but it's okay because he was given a 6-year sentence in 2022. But you might be a little bit confused by the math right there, because even if you were to backdate to 2020, you'd realize that it's 2024 in the beginning of 2024, and 6-year sentence would not actually add up correctly to what's going on right here.
It's very troubling, as I said. If you commit a murder and 6 months later you're out, or a year later you're out. We're seeing that trend pop up a lot more since 2020.
Now, the reason I played that quote from Nashville Metro's police chief is because I think it is quite instructive, because if he's talking about since 2020, how people who commit a murder are somehow out on the street due to low bond within a year of committing that crime only to reoffend again, it kind of gives you an idea of maybe why they didn't take this particular kidnapping seriously. Now, look, a lot of people hear 2022, 6-year sentence, and get confused on why he was out in 2024, but to be perfectly fair, in a lot of states, you only have to serve in and around 2/3 of your sentence for what is called good time, and then you get released on parole. So it could have been the case that he was convicted in early 2022, had time served from back in 2020 when he actually originally committed the crime, and that would have added up to the 4 years that ultimately ended up resulting in his release. However, through my examination of the facts, I'm going to say that that is very unlikely, because he was convicted in July of 2022, again 2 years after he committed the original crime, but he was actually arrested in January of this year for trespassing in this very same building where he ended up assaulting this woman, and then arrested again in March. So had they treated him with the level of scrutiny that he deserved, had they actually enforced probation and parole, realized that this guy who stalks, assaults, robs women repeatedly, kidnaps them, was stalking somebody again, going after another target, trespassing, and thus violated his parole, he would have been in prison serving his time, but nobody took it seriously. They just gave him a basic trespass. And by the way, he was so well known for lurking around this area that the building super ended up recognizing him. On top of that, this guy's an absolute idiot. He actually ended up walking by the police as they were reviewing the surveillance video in order to see who the suspect was, wearing the same exact clothes, according to this local news report. So that ultimately ended up resulting in his arrest. Now, I will say this because it is technically legally true as of right now. These current crimes are alleged, but let us be clear, he was in fact convicted of the very same thing, given a light sentence, released early on that light sentence, and he did it again. Not to mention 105 other arrests. 105 times this guy's been charged. 105 chances he's been given by Nashville law enforcement, by Tennessee law enforcement, in red Tennessee, supermajority Republican state. This is what goes down.
Who has been charged with more than 100 offenses in Nashville alone since 2007. And just 2 years ago, he was found guilty of assaulting a woman.
Again, I want you to think about that. 105 offenses in Nashville alone. In Nashville alone, not in Tennessee, the whole state, not in the whole country, not the full extent of his rap sheet. Just in Nashville, charged with 105 offenses. He's still on the street. Just in Nashville, 105 offenses. And when he was convicted of that kidnapping, they didn't use the fact that he had a lengthy history to enhance his sentence to any great extent, and he ended up getting out early. This is a dangerous individual. Now, I know people at the Majority Report think, well, since he stole $100 from her after the fact, he must have been doing this to feed his starving family, and he just figured, might as well rape in order to feed my starving family as well. But the fact of the matter is, arresting poverty in this particular circumstance, not going to solve the problem. One of the things that annoyed me is that in the same article where they talked about how violent repeat offenders should be held accountable, there was lip service paid to, we got to manage the mental health issues. We got to manage the situations that these people are going through. There is nothing wrong with this man that cannot be solved by locking him in a cage. The idea that we have to think about his medical needs, are you kidding me? Now, it's one thing if he was actually in prison and he got sick, obviously you got to take care of them then, but why are we talking about this right now? He just raped a woman. He just kidnapped a woman for over an hour. This woman was in fear that this man who just raped her was going to murder her, and then he robbed her. And he's so stupid that he showed up to the same crime scene. He was arrested repeatedly for trespassing at this crime scene before then, and he had a history of doing this exact same thing. Prior behavior is a good predictor of future results, and you had 105 instances, not in some foreign country, in Nashville, Tennessee, where this event occurred, and they didn't take those warnings, and now a woman's life is potentially ruined because of it. Absolutely disgusting in every way, and again, I will emphasize, Tennessee, what are you doing? Supermajority red state. You could theoretically do anything, and on certain instances, when you care, you do anything. You even boot out some of these representatives that try to do their woke protests on the legislative floor. How about you solve something in one of your major cities? How about you fix what's going on in Nashville? How about you figure out who messed this up and hold them accountable? And by the way, that's not even to mention what is going on in Memphis, which, as we discovered, has a higher homicide rate than any nation in the world. Memphis, Tennessee. Look, I'm going to start coming down a lot harder on some of these red states because there's no reason you should allow, just because it's a blue city, an island of blue in your sea of red that is your state, to destroy themselves, to destroy the major metropolitan areas of this place. But hey, you know what? Those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. As usual, if you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about absolute nonsense going on in Nashville. Till next time.